David from dodmedia. Today we're going to be having a look at the Chameleon 4 by Digitalfoto. Now before we get into it, let me just explain that weird intro for a second. I got sent one of these lights to try out, and if I liked it, I would do a review of it. Turns out I really like it. So I started to shoot this sequence, which I wanted to kind of look like a sci-fi sequence, and I had this light, one of them set up on that shelf back there, basically like I'm having those two lights there, except it was just projecting that very strong teal RGB light. And then I was using a different light, which is actually one of those ones there, as my key light daylight balanced. And so I shot that sequence, and then I thought, why am I using a different light to shoot as my key light when I could just be using a second one of these to show how versatile it is? And I kind of feel like having two tube lights is better than having one tube light, because you can balance contrasting colors off each other or just use them as practicals in your shot, and it's just a lot more convenient to have two of the same light. So I ordered another one, paid for it myself, and also ordered the remote. And so that's why there's a take two in that intro thing, because once I received the second light, I tried to reshoot it, although a little bit lazily, but I tried to reshoot it using the second one that I had as a key light that would essentially be a continuation of that strip light, but with a white daylight cast instead of that teal RGB cast. And when it came to making this review video, I kind of liked both of them. So I thought, instead of trying to edit them together, which just wouldn't work, I would just put one after the other. So there you go, backstory. Okay, so on to the actual product. This is the Chameleon 4. Chameleon because a chameleon can change its colors, and 4 because it is 4 foot long. They also make a Chameleon 2, I'll let you figure out why it's called that. So both the Chameleon 2 and the Chameleon 4 come with an internal battery which promises to last anywhere from 1.5 hours to 3 hours depending on the use, but 1.5 hours at full daylight power, which is where it gives its most output. Now I've used this as a practical light on a couple of shoots already, and I did not notice any dimming, and I was only running it off battery power from a fully charged battery. But if you're at all worried or you're shooting for a lot longer than that, it also comes with an AC adapter. You can control the lights via the onboard controls, or there's also a DMX in, DMX out if you have a switchboard. There's also an app that you can control the lights via Bluetooth with, although I feel like the app is a little bit frustrating to use. And then of course, there's an actual remote control, which I'll touch on later. Oh, and the remote control is sold separately. It's about $30. So the light comes with two mounting options. As you can see here, you've got this cable thread, which you can loop through here to hang the light from things if you wanted to hang it in a vertical position, or from two things in a horizontal position. And then you also have these clamps, which I think are pretty cool. They basically allow you to wrap it around anywhere on the light, and then you clamp it down a little bit like a GoPro accessory. And once it's clamped down, it's really solid. It's not really moving anywhere. And it's got two 1/4-20-inch threads so that you can mount it to a light stand, a tripod, a friction arm, whatever you want really. The case it comes in is a soft carry case. It's nothing special, but it will protect your light a little bit, make it a little bit easier to transport. And it has a pocket on the side that can fit the power adapter. So that's quite nice. So this light, like many of its competitors, which I have not tried, so don't ask me which one's better, I've only tried these ones. But like many of its competitors, it's an RGBW light, meaning it has three functions. The W part of the name stands for white, and that's basically daylight and tungsten diodes in here that you can balance so that you can get a color range, I think from 2800 Kelvin to 9900 Kelvin. That is an extreme white shift. But as you saw in the intro, the daylight balance that it outputs, I think it was at about 5500 Kelvin there. That's a really clean output. It's got a CRI of 95, and it looks good on skin tones. Then you've got the RGB function, so you get the whole 360-degree hue wheel of RGB colors that you can cycle through, as well as saturation control and brightness control. And then you've got effects like cop car or ambulance or fireworks. I've got to say, I'm very tempted to just stick this on the roof of my car and let it run as cop car. Not for any cinematic lighting, just literally so that people get out of my way. No, don't do that. It's illegal. I checked. So as I said, in terms of power, you've got your DC in and your power button at one end. And then the other end, you have these two clickable knobs. And then you've also got this little screen with 3 buttons there, which give you kind of quick control access to some of the different features and changing the wireless channel group. So that's pretty nice. It's a little bit tricky to get used to at first, but you get used to it very quickly, and then it's very, very fast to navigate through the different options in the light. Now, I mentioned this little cable tie here, but I'm actually going to go ahead and remove this one, because something that happens that is probably just a design flaw is that as I pull this out, it actually rotates these knobs, meaning that if you've set your light and then you hang it, it's going to adjust your brightness and hue for you after you've done that by moving this. So I'll just hang it from one end from now. So let's turn it on. It does take a few seconds to power up once you press the button in. There we go. And then we turn off our key light so that all we have is this. Now that is excessively bright. What have I got it on? Oh yeah, I've got it on 100%, of course. Let me bring it down to 40%. Now if I hang this above me, let's check that monitor. That's still a little bright, but if I hang this above me, that would work as a key light. That's pretty nice because it's like a strip box, but in a tube. So it's not an excessively harsh light. I'm not seeing any massive, massive shadows except from my glasses. If I take these off, there you go. It's pretty good. So why would I recommend these lights over, say, the Aperture 120D that was my key light just a second ago? Basically, cost is a big factor. Form factor is a massive factor because these can be used as key lights, as fills, and as practicals. That's quite unusual. That's why these tube lights are so popular, because they can be used as practical lights built into the scene that you don't necessarily have to try and hide and mask. I mean, for example, in that intro sequence, this teal light here, this was just on the shelf. It was right behind me in plain sight. And yet it works because it's a tube light, because we're used to seeing these in ceilings, in offices, in supermarkets and everything. It works. You don't have to try and hide an Aperture 120D in a softbox or a diffuser of any kind. You don't have to try and hide it beyond the scene, beyond the frame. You can just build these right in. Then as I mentioned, the price, I mean, depending on where you're buying it, depending on where you're buying it to, ordering it to, they range from roughly $200 for the 2-foot version to about $300, just under $300 for the 4-foot version. I would highly recommend the 4-foot version. I think it gives you a lot more flexibility and a lot more creative options. And like I said in the beginning, one of them was sent to me, but I bought the other one because I believe that it is a good enough product that I was actually happy to go and buy another one myself. And I rarely review products that are crap, because what would be the point? Just realized looking in the monitor that I look like a bit of an evil mastermind in a movie. Let's turn this one off and see if that is accentuated even more. Okay, so let's bring back the key light and let's just kill these. Now, one thing that I did find a little bit disappointing is the remote control. It works, and it works fine, and you can control individual lights by changing the group or the channel. But to do that, you have to navigate through menus to change the group or the channel. There isn't just a quick button to go, okay, go from channel A to channel B. Which is why I wish they'd designed it a little bit like the Aperture light remote control, because that's fantastic. You've got those, each individual channels and groups laid out in strips. And so each row can be an individual group or light, depending on how many you're using. You don't have to go into any menus, and sure, this only has brightness, and that's it. Whereas this one has to have brightness, saturation, and hue. But you know what, just make a remote that's a little bit wider, it doesn't matter. Make it so that you've got one channel, you've got brightness, you've got saturation, then you've got hue. I'd be delighted with that. I would much rather that than have to go into a menu to change the group, because sometimes it's a little finicky as well. You think that you're pressing the right button, but actually you've pressed the wrong one and it goes out and then changes all the settings in the light because you've pressed the default color one, which is just daylight white. So you have to go back in to change it to a color setting, and so it works, but it's not great. I'd much rather they had gone on a basis of something like this where everything is just there. You don't need to delve through menus to find it. Obviously the effects like the fireworks and the police car, sure, there you need to go through a menu, but otherwise I'd much rather have it quick access on a remote control just at the press of a button for each individual group or channel. Because I have 2 of these. Yeah, this could be better. But there's no reason they couldn't make a better one, so that might come. All right, that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you enjoyed the practical demonstrations in the beginning, both of them. I couldn't part with one. If you would like to get this light, there are links in the description. Those are affiliate links, meaning that if you make a purchase using that link, I will get a percentage of that purchase. It won't cost you anything extra, but you'll help support this channel for me to make more reviews like this one. All right, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.